Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and welcome back. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well this afternoon. We are going to continue questing in Duskwood.
What can I do for you? Be careful.
Hey there. Have a good one.
Light be with you. Light bless you. Go with honor, friend. Greetings.
As Mike, Towin, Patrick, Lisa, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and welcome back. Let's see. Let's go this way. So we had a long maintenance today for retail, and I'm wondering, like, why the long maintenance? Are they setting up the beta stuff for tomorrow? Is that potentially why long maintenance today? I really can't think of any other reason why the maintenance would have been extended.
Hey there. See you around. Safe travels.
And speaking of beta, fingers crossed that tomorrow we wake up and have beta access. Fingers crossed. I'm just really hopeful that I get the beta access that I was promised. That would be really great. And if we're really lucky, tomorrow on stream we will be checking out some War Within. I still didn't customize my griffin. No, I didn't. There's like a quest involved in it? Somebody said that I would get like a little dragon would come and I would get a quest pickup. None of that ever happened. Or how would I customize it by going to like the dragon place where you customize your dragons? Truth be told, I have customized my mount exactly this many times. Like I've never changed the appearances for any of my dragons. Yeah, I have never done it. I like did it as part of the quest, like they have you do the first quest where they say, hey, this is the place where you change your dragon cosmetic, so I've been there, but never once have I changed the cosmetic. I'd be curious to see, like for this guy though, like what kinds of different skins he has. So maybe I'll do that on my paladin at some point. I forget where that place even is. Yeah, I'd have to look up where it's at. I'm assuming maybe they have a place in Veldraken where I can do that, or do I have to fly to the one, was it in the Waking Shores originally? Ashley, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Veldraken has one. There's a handful of them. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out on maybe I'll jump on my Pally and check it out. But yeah, for this character, I'm not going to be able to do much with it for the time being.
Good day to you. See you later. Have a good one.
Cynical Weeb, welcome to the stream, buddy. I am doing well. Thanks for asking. I can make it purple to match the Void theme. That would be really cool, actually. Yeah, I'd have to have a portal to Veldraken. I don't think I can get there as a level 32 on my own. But that does sound cool. Definitely, once we can do that, I will. This sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Can we not dragon ride at this level? Not yet. No, I'm not sure when dynamic flight opens up. But not at level 30. Regular flight opens up at level 30, and then at some other level, dynamic flight opens.
Need help? For the Alliance. Light bless you.
The old history book is, it's no longer a quest item, and it's also not a book. Very strange.
Well met. For the Alliance.
He hit us pretty hard. Yeah, he dipped us pretty low there for a minute. I thought he was going to kill us. Maybe we weren't supposed to have aggro on him. Maybe the guards were supposed to tank him. I don't know. Yeah, he almost killed us. Levent, good afternoon, man. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, the later expansions, they're all like very, very narrative driven, very narrative heavy. So questing in the old world is the best. And then, like, Pandaria is also good. But definitely once you get into Warlords of Draenor, you're just being kind of dragged along by the main story. And it feels good in the moment. Like, when expansions come out, when an expansion comes out, that feels good. It feels good to be in the story, it feels good to be in the moment, it feels good to be running around with the cast of characters when the expansion comes out. Years later, when the lore and the story are not really relevant anymore, it doesn't feel good to quest in those expansions. I've tried questing in Warlords of Draenor, I've tried in Legion, and it just like, the zones don't feel as good, and none of it feels as good outside of the moment when it was actually like new content that was coming out. So yeah, I prefer just leveling up in the old world. Although Pandaria's world design is like very similar to the old world, in that all the zones feel like places where people live, they feel like places where like it's just open, you have lines of sight that are nice. You're not always being dragged along by the story after the first couple quests. So yeah, Pandaria's good, the old world's good. Everything after that is like super linear. Everything starts to feel like less like a place in the world and more like a set piece for plot events to happen. Mr. Santa, thanks for being here, man. I do appreciate it. Be Sad Dog, good afternoon. Welcome. Yeah, the shadow glyph is a game changer. Like, I hated the idea of a shadow priest prior to the shadow glyph because I like to see what my gear looks like. I like to see my gear. Did I just fly into Stranglethorn? I did. We still have stuff to do. I'm not ready for Stranglethorn yet. I like to see my gear. I like to see what color it is. I like to see all the details of it. And yeah, shadow form in its native state is like way too much. It's like you're not really shadowy, you're just like covered in smoke. It's pretty egregious. I should try Guild Wars 2. I played Guild Wars 2, yeah. Yeah, the quest design in Guild Wars 2 is pretty fun. I like how they just have their maps and you can like go around, you can find the scouts tell you about different areas and stuff going on. I really like how Guild Wars 2 handles the questing. Especially from what I've seen of like low level stuff. Where Guild Wars 2 falls over for me is like, I don't like the classes. I don't like the class design, I don't really care for the combat. Yeah, like... It's a common thing now for like games to let you like pick what weapon you want and have your abilities be determined by your weapon and have it let you pick the armor that you want. It's common for games now to limit you to like 6 or 8 buttons you can have at a time. Like, I just don't really enjoy those kinds of combat. It's why I don't like combat in ESO, and it's why I don't like combat in Guild Wars 2. I don't like the very limited amount of buttons that you get at any one time, and I don't like designing the class for them. Like, I want you to design the class for me, and then I will play your class. I don't want to decide if I'm going to be a warrior with a two-handed axe, or a one-handed sword, or a bow, or a gun, or a trap, or a rocket launcher. Like, I don't want to decide that about my class. I want the game developers to decide, and then I want to play their design. I very much like games that have stronger class fantasy, where the class is very well defined. The class can use X, Y, and Z type abilities. The class can use this kind of armor, that kind of armor, and can use these kinds of weapons. And so, like, while I really like the worlds of both Guild Wars 2 and ESO, the combat is always very, very lackluster for me. And the class fantasy is basically non-existent. It's really hard for me to get into the class because how much of it is like up to me to design for them. It's just not as interesting to me. Mr. Santa, I have not seen the trailer for the new Alien movie. Sounds cool. You know, the Alien movies got really bad, though, unfortunately. It's kind of a franchise that almost got ruined for me. Alien and Aliens. Those are the only two Alien movies that I will allow for to exist in canon. Aliens 3 was also, like, pretty bad, pretty stupid. Every other movie made in that continuity was kind of bad. Prometheus, just a terrible mess of a movie. Yeah, and there may have been some others. There may have been some others after Prometheus that came out that I didn't watch because Prometheus was so bad. Yeah, like, I don't know what happened, but it all kind of went off the deep end. Marlena, welcome back. Thanks for being back. Yeah, the concept is kind of funny to me that, like, the concept is funny that the only way that now they can make a good thing is to copy an old thing. Like, they're like, how do we make a new good thing? Let's copy old good thing. People liked old good thing. We don't know how to make a good thing, like, on our own. We clearly have no idea how to make a good movie. So let's copy old good thing, and then maybe people will like it. People who liked old good thing will like it. People who haven't seen the old good thing will be like, hey, this new thing is good. It's like, so it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, the original 2 movies are really great. Like, I guess the only way to make a good movie is to copy what has already been done. That's why I don't watch a lot of movies. I've had a really good time on Shadow and Retail. Yeah, I've had a better time leveling my Shadow Priest in Retail than I've had in Cataclysm. Cataclysm leveling just... it might not have been the class, but Cataclysm leveling is just kind of broken. Like, Cataclysm leveling is just not really... It's not in a place to be a super enjoyable experience no matter what you do. So I've had a really good time on this Priest. I feel like my button pushing is smooth, I like my abilities, I understand what's happening with them. And all that stuff. I've had a great time. Let's see. We need more Ladim. Of course, the time we need him, he's nowhere to be found, and every other time he's ready to kill us. Let's target him. He's, well, that's not him. That's this other guy. So where is the old chap? Some say Marvel destroyed Hollywood. Also CGI, yeah. Yeah, like, basically everything is CGI. What's really sad is, like, and it probably makes the movies worse, is a lot of times when you're watching, like, an MCU movie, the only thing real that you're looking at is the actor that's in the shot. Like, there are no other actors around. There is no actual stage dressing. There is no actual set. It's one actor being filmed in a green room. They're wearing tights, so they probably feel pretty stupid already. And then there's no other actors around. Even though the scene being shot will have other actors in it, they'll be talking to each other. A lot of times, like, each shot is taken in a vacuum, edited together, and these actors are not even, like, oftentimes together in the same room. Even though they have entire scenes together in the movie. And everything is CGI and none of it's anything. Yeah, that could make a movie worse. I don't know where this guy's at. I don't know if it's a case where he was, like, just killed recently and he's not going to respawn for 4 minutes. I don't know if it's that maybe he's underground. Is there a possibility that he's actually underground? Like, yeah, I really don't know. What else do we have going on in the area? Not a lot. Let's go turn this one in. Oh, this is underground. There's something underground. Yeah, well, that's because to create a memorable moment, you have to have more than just CGI in action scenes. Like, to create a truly memorable moment, you have to have, like, a lot of different things come together. the actor, the setting, the music. Like, a lot of things come together to create like moments in movies that you remember for your entire life. But when everything is made by CGI and everything is the same and the acting is all very mediocre, there's nothing like super memorable to like latch onto. And it's also probably an age thing. Like, you're obviously like more impressionable as a human when you're younger. So like some of those things from movies are gonna like have impressed themselves on you a lot more if you encountered them when you were a kid or a teenager than if you were to encounter them today. I like how this quest actually uses this like little secret passageway. I remember finding this back in like vanilla back in the day, but you didn't have to come back here. It was like a fun little thing to find that you kind of got excited about, but that ultimately was not necessary. So it's kind of cool that they decided to actually use it. We found a clue. I don't know what this clue is about, but we found a clue, and then there was applause. Actual in-game applause soundtrack is playing for us right now. Devin, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. I think this guy just tried to get me killed. I'm pretty sure that he kind of intentionally, maybe sort of wanted to get me killed there. Because he pulled all those guys and he dragged them over to me, and I'm not really sure like how else I'm supposed to read that except as a blatant attempt to get me killed. So yeah, I'm gonna let it go. Like, it's fine. I didn't get killed, but it really seemed like a blatant attempt by him to get me killed. Otherwise, I don't know why he would pull somebody and then drag them right on top of me. Did I not get his skull? Like, what is happening here exactly? What exactly is going on? I'm pretty sure I looted everything. but it's kind of indicating that maybe I didn't. And now I don't even know how to get back there. Okay, maybe we're not doing this one. Is this not the right guy? It's a different guy. Okay. So there's Morladim and there's Morbin Fell. Is Morladim down here somewhere? Or what? Yeah, I'm not really sure on what the deal is with this other guy. I'm not gonna spend a lot more time looking for him. I can't tell by the quest tracking if he's down here or not. Maybe I need the directional... Where's the directional marker? Oh my god. Nope. Nope, I don't know where it's at. If I had the little directional arrow, then maybe I could tell if he was like up or down, left or right. Oh, wait. There he is. All I had to do was complain about it. If you complain about something, like, then it'll just work itself out. It's obviously how life works. Don't trust the quest tracker, trust your heart. That's fair advice. That's fair. Luke, is something wrong? You've switched off your targeting computer. Is that what you're telling me? I should turn off my targeting computer? Trust in the Force.
Hello. See you later.
Alright, we have a couple of talent points. I'm gonna go over here, and then we'll go... Dark Evangelism. Your Mind Flay, Mind Spike, and Void Torrent damage increases the damage of your periodic shadow effects by 1%, stacking 5 times. Okay. Seems like a pretty good passive. Vampiric Touch deals an additional 15% damage, and has a chance to generate 1 insanity each time it deals damage. That seems like it's necessary. These both seem necessary. I haven't grabbed Mind Spike yet. Let's grab Mind Spike and we'll play with it. I think for leveling, Mind Flay is going to be better though, right? But maybe I should get used to having Mind Spike, because I feel like at max level I'm going to have Mind Spike, right? Probably not going to be doing a lot of Mind Flay. So maybe I should just get used to this now. Just see how it feels. I can hearth back. It's gonna be a little bit faster. Well, the good thing about the channeled Mind Flay is that it slows them down coming to us. Now, granted, like, that's not really strictly necessary. We can shield out of a lot of damage, and we have ways to heal ourselves, so, like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I should probably get used to using it.
Can I help you? Be careful. Safe travels. See you around. Need help? Farewell. Safe travels.
Mike, you didn't like Mind Spike, you went back to Mind Flay. Yeah, I feel like for leveling, like, Mind Flay might be where it's at. I just know that at max level, like doing mythics and stuff, I'm probably gonna want to have Mind Spike. We'll try it out and we'll see. We'll get a little sampling of it and see what we feel. Blaine, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for checking out the stream. I thought I was gonna have to fight somebody here, but apparently not. Apparently not. And also, that might have been the... Was that all? We did all of Duskwood? It's over? All of it? That seemed really fast. Between yesterday and today, that did not seem like a lot of questing. Okay, well, that's it then. Let's head down into Stranglethorn, and we'll try to see, do we like Stranglethorn? Do we want to spend time there, or do we want to go somewhere else? I feel like after Duskwood, Stranglethorn's going to be a good aesthetic change of pace. So I hope the questing is good. The questing here was so fluid that I didn't realize we were wrapping up the zone. We just kind of like smoothly went from one thing to the next. It felt really good. Monarch says, anything but Stranglethorn, please! Please, anything but Stranglethorn. We're gonna check it out. We'll see how the questing is. Like, I'm not reading the quest or anything, so like I'm just... If the flow is good, then the flow is good. If the flow is bad, then we will go somewhere else where we can flow more. Yeah, as long as it like feels good. I like the visuals. It's visually always been one of my favorite zones. I don't remember how much they changed in the revamp. It's an objectively wrong opinion.
How are you?
Fair. You are objectively allowed to have that opinion.
Have
yeah.
a good one.
King's honor, friend. Be careful.
There's really not much I can do to change your mind, but thankfully I don't have to.
Go with honor, friend.
Maybe it'll grow on you. Yeah, I would probably I'd probably hold off on hardcore. Give hardcore some time. Eventually, maybe in like a year or so, hardcore will make a resurgence. It'll take some downtime between other versions, and then maybe hardcore would pop off again. That'd be cool. Yeah, we do got beta tomorrow, so plenty of stuff to do. Alright, here we go with Mind Spike. So this does not have a cooldown. I could spam it if I wanted to. That does very little damage. Huh, there's probably like a certain time when I'm going to use this, because I can't imagine using this like just spamming it. It doesn't seem like that'd be very useful. It doesn't deal a lot of damage. Mind Blast does a lot more damage. It has a cast time that's like, you know, it's a little bit of a cast time. It's the same cast time as Mind Blast, but does like a fraction of the damage. What's the deal with Mind Spike? Am I trying to get like a proc to go off before I use it? It doesn't seem like a very useful spell right now. And yeah, instantly I want to go back to Mind Flay. Yeah. Yeah, Mind Flay is better though. Mind Flay is better. It does a couple things that are just like better for leveling. I'm gonna go back to Mind Flay for now. We'll check this out at max level. We probably want this max level. I think the thing here is it generates insanity, and I'm not sure Mind Flay does that. Mental Decay increases the damage of Mind Flay and Mind Spike by 10%. Yeah, that's obviously a really good thing. The duration of Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch is increased by 1 second when enemies suffer damage. Oh, this is a must-have. Okay. And then Void Eruption releases the explosion in the area. 2-minute cooldown. Okay. Dark Ascension increases non-periodic shadow damage. I guess I would take Void Eruption there. Is there a reason why I only have one extra hotbar? I mean, the reason right now is that I don't really need any others. That's it. There will probably come a time when I have like more things to put up there, but right now I just don't need it. I try to keep the UI as clean as I possibly can. Music volume is good. That's good to hear. That's awesome. Yeah, it looked good on my end. I was hoping it was good. Yeah, right now I don't think if anything, I probably have things here that I don't really need. So I think I'm good for right now. I don't think I need more space at this moment. I have a couple of empty buttons on my hotbar still, so... Yeah, if I don't need the hotbar, I don't add the hotbar. Just for the sake of keeping it as clean as visually possible. Like I just want it to be as much real estate dedicated to the game. Ooh, a transmog mount. No! No!
I have just the thing, Wanderer.
I want to change my look. Aha! We did it! There we go. I panicked. It was all I could do in a panic. I would have picked out something else, but we didn't have a lot of time. I just kind of wanted to get rid of the robe. I'm not a big fan of robes. I prefer tunic and trousers on my casters. The mic sounds good today. Yeah, the microphone volume is always like a work in progress for me. I think I've got it in a pretty good place now where ooh, what the hell? I've got it in a pretty good place now where I'm pretty content to leave it alone. Yesterday it was pretty decent, and then today I changed like 1 or 2 things. And now I'm kind of at a point where I think I'm gonna leave it here unless I listen to today's VOD and it sounds awful. And then if that's the case, I might change it again. Yeah, I mean, you guys always tell me it sounds good, but to be fair, there have been days you guys have told me it has sounded fine that I have gone and listened to the VOD afterwards, and I kind of didn't like it. One day in particular, like I seemed like I was too quiet compared to like the game sound, but yeah, You guys are always very kind. And I love you guys for that, but I'm very critical of how my audio sounds. Evil Squirrel, have I tried Panda Remix? Yeah, I have a Death Knight at level 40 and Panda Remix. It's okay. Like, my problem with Panda Remix is too much loot. There's too much stuff going on, like, that I have to open my inventory. I'm always popping chests open. I'm always, like, comparing gear. I'm always combining gems. I'm always, like, resocketing gems that I've had to replace in my replaced gear. I started to feel like I spent half my time in my inventory. And I just like, I kind of like stopped for now. I'm gonna eventually get my Death Knight to 70. Because I like the Unholy Death Knight a lot and would love to get it capped out. So I'll do that eventually. I'll probably finish that character on stream. But that'll probably be my only foray into Remix. It just, it's not really what I was looking for. Like, it was a lot of inventory stuff. I feel like they can give me like half the loot. I want like half the loot. I want like one quarter of the gems. Give me 1/4 as many gems. Give me half the loot and just let me play the game faster. Give me just more straight up bronze, I guess. If you're gonna have to give me stuff, like just give me bronze. Guitar Junkie, thanks for saying so. I appreciate you being here. You have to learn what to do to gear up at 70 again? No idea anymore? I mean, it depends on what kind of content you want to do. I feel like they have 5-mans in a pretty good place now. That if you wanted to gear up, you can do regular 5-mans. Then you can do heroic 5-mans. And then you can do mythic zeros. You throw in a little bit of raid finder for some like additional gear and resources. Maybe the occasional world quest or world boss for like a piece of gear here and there. And I feel like they have the dungeons in a place where you can kind of do that now. Where you can go from regular 5s to heroic 5s to zeros to keys. With some raid finder and some world quest stuff like supplementing. We're gonna find out if you can do that. Because that's what I'm gonna be doing on this character to get them like some gear, get them doing some mythic. Is we are gonna hit level cap. We're gonna farm up some gear in some regular dungeons. We're gonna get the gear score we need to do heroic dungeons. We're gonna do that. And then we're gonna go from there. If it's funny, I because of the dungeon changes and like because of the item level changes, I boosted my warrior yesterday. I had the boost from the pre-order, and I didn't know what I was going to use it on. I didn't think I was going to go back to leveling the warrior. They were like level 30 something, so I had learned a little bit about how to play the class. So I boosted it. And they put you in item level 424 gear. So when you boost a character, your gear score is item level 424. You're in full epics 424. 424 is no longer even high enough to do heroics. Because of the changes they made to heroic and mythic 0 and mythic keys for season 4, 424 no longer lets you jump into heroics. So same thing there, like if I want to gear that warrior up and get it doing some mythics, I have to start by doing some regular 5-mans, which feels a little weird. But if it works, if I can gear up in regulars to do heroics, to do zeros, if that works, then that's awesome. If there's a gap, if like doing regular dungeons doesn't get me the gear I need to do heroic dungeons, if there's like a gap, then that could be really weird and like a bad point of friction. So we'll see. We're gonna find out soon. Yeah, we're gonna find out soon if you can go from regulars to heroics to mythics. That would be the preferred like progression for like a solo player who loves 5-man content like me. You would ideally want to go from regulars to heroics to mythics, without having to do like too much other supplemental stuff that's not optional. Do I have any tips for new players to Cataclysm? Like completely new players to Cataclysm? I have a few things to like point out about Cataclysm that I can like offer to a new player. Now, like take this with a grain of salt because it's my experiences only. Cataclysm is a great version of the game if you are someone who's going to have a guild, if you are someone who is going to raid. If you are someone who wants to raid, or you have a guild and you're planning to raid with a guild, or you're planning to get into a guild, then Cataclysm is a good version of the game. If you are a solo player and you don't have any raid aspirations, and your goal is not to level an army of alts, then Cataclysm does not have a lot for you to do. Most of the fun in Cataclysm is in the raiding. Heroic dungeons are pretty fun, but you're gonna gear out of heroic dungeons really fast. So yeah, Cataclysm is good if you want to raid. If you are a solo player and you don't want to raid, but you would also like stuff to do at endgame, because you don't just want to roll alt after alt after alt, then you probably want to play retail instead of Cataclysm. Because retail has a lot more to do at endgame for a person who's not going to raid. Yeah, if you want to raid, great. Yeah, if you're playing Cata and you don't plan to raid, I would say like your time might be better spent in retail. And that I would not have necessarily said that about older versions of Classic, but older versions of Classic were also about the journey. It was about taking your character on this really big, really long journey, really getting to know the character, like doing your crafting as you were going along, seeing all these different things in the world. And Cataclysm, with how fast the leveling is, completely changed that. The game is no longer really focused on the journey. The game is focused on getting players to max level as quickly as possible, so that players can do the max level content as quickly as possible. That's what Classic is about now. You don't see Shadow Word Death on my bar. Did I get Shadow Word Death at some point? Because I don't see it. Did I not get it yet, or is it something that I have to spec into? Because yeah, I've been waiting for Shadow Word Death, and I don't have it. Did I miss it somewhere in the talent tree, or am I still waiting for it? And that would be like, that would really be the only tips I have for a new player. As far as like anything else, like what class you should play, stuff like that, like just try out the classes, see what your flavor is, and go from there. But just really be mindful of what there is to do at endgame and how much content there actually is, because like the solo player and like the endgame content, there's not a ton of it. Priest book, second page. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I need that out. I also need Shadow Fiend to be out somewhere on my bar. I probably don't need that on my bar anymore. Shadow Word Death needs to come out. That can go here, is a pretty good spot for it. Nice, thank you. Yeah, I've been like waiting for it, like not really knowing, like I guess I got it at some point and didn't realize it. I appreciate the call out. Oh, it just got more fun. It just got even more fun. Now I have an execute. Oh, that felt good. I likey. I likey. I'm really having a lot of fun on this Shadow Priest. It's been like a surprisingly good time. Bam. Mohammed, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Shadow Priest hero talents in the War Within look good. You know, I'm excited to see it. I think when we do the beta, like, I might go on the Paladin. I might go on a Paladin for beta. But part of me really wants to go on a Shadow Priest. Maybe I will, just because I'm really familiar with the Paladin, so I'd be able to kind of look at like some of the ret changes and some of the hero talents for ret, and I'd be able to like kind of know like how they're going to change the class. Whereas like the Shadow Priest, obviously it's not going to be max level. Like I'm not like super familiar with it yet. But yeah, maybe I will try to go on a Shadow Priest. I've been really digging this. Yeah, I might do both. It depends. We'll see how things go, and if you guys dig the content, if you're liking the beta, we can play more beta. If people are not liking the beta or they don't want to see spoilers, we'll play less beta. But definitely, like day one, we're gonna play a bunch. I'll probably give it like at least 2 solid days. I'll probably give it 2 streams, and we'll kind of take the temperature and see like how people feel. I'd like to really get into like the 5-man dungeons and start learning the 5-mans. I'd like to like really test the beta. Like actually test it, actually play it, be able to provide feedback on stuff. But it depends on if you guys are into that, you know? Ashley, you wish there was a holy DPS spec for Priest? Yeah, that would be cool if there was like a straight up, like, you know, you can DPS as holy or discipline, like one or the other. That would be cool. A lot of people talk about that, like just having a way to be like a holy DPS or a disc DPS. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that like Shadow is the only way to DPS as a priest, because like aesthetically, like Shadow is very specific. Like some people don't like being a Shadow Priest. Some people just don't like being a Shadow Priest. I avoided it for years because I did not like Shadow Form. Now, the glyph of Shadow Form makes it a lot more bearable. Like, it makes it super bearable. I don't mind this at all. But yeah, for like a decade, I avoided it because I'm like, I don't want to be a purple ball of mass. Like, I want to be a character. And so yeah, like just aesthetically, it's not for everybody. It would be cool if there was a different way for priests to be able to DPS.
What can I do for you? Safe travels. See you around.
Somebody might say, be a disciplined healer, because as a disciplined healer, it seems like you, mainly a lot of what you have to do is DPS. But you also are obviously responsible for keeping people alive, so a little bit different.
Need help? Light bless you. For the Alliance.
Yeah, see, I don't mind seeing the zones. I don't mind seeing the zones in beta. Because, like, what I realize about myself is, like, when the game actually comes out to full launch, I'll feel better if I'm, like, a little bit familiar with the flow of the zone. I like being a little bit familiar with the flow of the zone. And so, like, if I get familiar with some of the questing on beta, like, that's gonna be a good thing for me. And then, you know, I'm sure there will be cutscenes and stuff like that, and voice lines. There will be content that we don't get to see in beta that will still be a surprise when it comes out to live. I haven't decided if I'm going to read the quest in beta, or if I'm just going to focus on reading the objectives. So I might save the quest reading for myself for launch, and that would, like, negate some of the spoilers. Obviously, like, the environments themselves might cause some story spoilers just by the nature of where we're at and what we're doing. But I may hold off on reading stuff until the actual launch, and then we'll read everything. Do I use heirlooms? Not in retail, really. No, I'm not using heirlooms right now. I don't really bother with them in retail. I like my power level kind of how it is while I level up, and I also like my gear to change appearance as I level up. I like putting on a new piece of gear and having it change my look. So I haven't been using heirlooms. The heirlooms I have kind of suck. The heirlooms I have are only good up to like level 36, because back in the day I never upgraded them all the way. So they're like lower level heirlooms anyway. We'd be about, even if I were using heirlooms, they'd be about at the end of their usefulness right about now. Any hardcore or SOD plans anytime soon? No, not anytime soon. SOD, I'm done with SOD. I won't be playing any more SOD. I decided that at the beginning of Phase 3 that I was done with it. It's I didn't enjoy any of it. It was kind of feeling like it's just a big waste of my time. I am not the player that SOD was made for. SOD was not made for like casual classic enjoyers or people that enjoy like classic things about classic. SOD became about a different type of player. I'm not like entirely sure who. I just know that I was not that player. So I won't be spending any, and as far as hardcore, like whenever hardcore has a resurgence, I'd love to go back to hardcore. Whenever hardcore's popular again, which it probably will be, in the fullness of time, we'll probably see a resurgence. And when and if that happens, I'd love to go back and play some more hardcore. Like maybe they'll do like a fresh start server one day, and that'd be really cool. What happened to ESO? Nothing. I just haven't had time to record. No, I've been streaming a lot. I've been having a good time on the streams, and I haven't had time to record ESO. I almost recorded today. When I thought all the servers were going to be down all day, I almost recorded some ESO today. But then it turned out that the classic servers were up, so instead of that, I streamed on the Warrior for a bit. Yeah, it's one of those things where like if I had a little bit more time or a little bit more resources, then I would love to keep recording ESO. And I'm gonna stick on that character, so like anything I do in the future on ESO is gonna be on the Nightblade character. And I'll try to find time to do it here and there, but right now I just don't have time. Too much WoW stuff going on. Too many WoW things to play and enjoy. And like for ESO, like ESO for me is all about the stories. Like it's all about just seeing the stories, seeing the zones, because the combat, like there might as well not be combat. For all that the combat really matters, like there might as well not be combat. For all that the skills matter, there might as well not be skills. Like the combat does not feel rewarding, and so like that's a real thing about ESO, and it's a thing that's not going anywhere. So like I have to be in a certain mindset, and that mindset cannot really be a gameplay oriented mindset. It has to be, hey, I really want to see this story play out. Hey, I'd really like to learn about what's going on in the zone. So it takes a really like specific mindset. It's a game that could benefit so much if only they had some kind of compelling combat system, if only they had a compelling class system that like actually established class fantasy and didn't leave it all up to the player. Like ESO is so close to being absolutely effing amazing. The writing and the world building are so good, like they're probably unparalleled. The writing and the world building and the voice acting in ESO are absolutely unparalleled. The combat and moment-to-moment gameplay are bad. Like it's hard to square those two things. It's hard to have like a world and stories and voice acting that's so great, and to square it with like some of the most boring class design, some of the most boring combat. It's really hard to come to terms with it. Literally every class feels the same on ESO. Yes. Yep. Yes. It's not even like that they feel the same. They all just feel bleh. Oh, you can do whatever. Every time I'm like, oh, what should I do? Oh, you do whatever. You do whatever you want. What you do is you look up a meta. You know, what real players do is they probably look up a meta. Like, what should I equip? What kind of armor should I wear as a necromancer? And they look up a meta and they do what the meta says. And then for everyone else, you can fall into idiot traps and you can do whatever you want. You want to be a necromancer that wears plate with a great two-handed sword? Cool, you can do that. You want to be a necromancer that wears robes and daggers? Okay, cool, you can do that too. Like, I know that some people like that kind of thing. I don't. I like class fantasy to have class fantasy about it. And in order for there to be class fantasy, there have to be established specifics of what a class can and cannot do. A class should use certain skills of magic. A class should equip certain types of armor and weapons. And you should have choice. You should have some choices. But in my mind, in a fantasy MMORPG, your class should determine some things about your capabilities. I don't like the leave it up to the player type of class design. It's not enjoyable for me. And Guild Wars 2 has the same exact problem. Guild Wars 2, amazing open world questing. Just some nice MMO questing. You get to explore the map and really feel like you're finding secrets and finding things. I love the map progression, how it tracks all the different objectives on that map, so you can aim for 100% completion on the maps if you want to. Guild Wars 2, great freaking open world questing, really boring classes and combat. Like, better class design and better combat design could take these games from being like great in their own way to being like amazing holistically. But I doubt either of them is going to reinvent the wheel anytime soon. And then like the same thing with both games, like limiting my number of abilities. I don't want to have to pick 6 abilities. I want to have 24 abilities. Like, I don't want to have to pick 6. It's not like a Subway sandwich. I just want to be able to have a class, and I want to have access to all of my class abilities. I want to be able to push all of my class abilities whenever I want, and I don't want to have to pick 6. But that's another thing of leave it up to the player. Leave it up to the player, not the game designer. Why design a class when we can just give players all the options, and 99% of the options will be the wrong choice, but we let them figure that out. 99% of the options are wrong, but here, do whatever you want, and then look up on the internet what you should do.
Need something?
If you ever need to perform at a higher level.
Have a good one. See you later. Safe travels.
Can I help you? See you later.
What can I do for you? Go with honor, friend.
And then they nerf the right choices. There you go. Yeah. And then every couple of months, the right choices change, and you look them up on the internet again, and then you change your loadout again, etc., etc. Yeah, like I wish the moment-to-moment gameplay in the class design and the combat. I wish combat was fun in games like ESO and Guild Wars 2, but it never has been that fun for me. And then you take a game like Final Fantasy, and like Final Fantasy more copies like WoW combat and copies WoW class design. But something about combat in Final Fantasy feels like empty, like not laggy, but just kind of like almost like disconnected. Like I press a button and there's some kind of mental physical disconnect, whereas like the button pushing in WoW always feels tight. It always feels immediate. It always feels visceral. You press a button, a thing happens, it feels right. And I always felt like in Final Fantasy, I push a button in Final Fantasy, a thing happens. It never really feels like super like good or super tight or timed. It just always feels a little bit off. I don't really know what it is. It's not like lag is the wrong term for it. Static and boring, it might be. It might also be that it's static and boring. It's just like there's something about how the button pushing feels though that's like that doesn't feel as good as pushing buttons in WoW, even though like ostensibly they seem to have like the exact same kind of combat design, the exact same kind of class design. Like it doesn't feel as good. And keep in mind, like, I absolutely love Final Fantasy. There's no reason that any of you guys would know that about me, but like when I started like hardcore playing video games, it was with Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 7. Like Final Fantasy 6 and 7 got me into RPGs. Before those games, I did not play RPGs. I wasn't familiar with what RPGs even were. And Final Fantasy 6 and 7 got me into RPGs. And so like I love Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy Tactics, where a lot of the classes in 14 come from, I played like thousands of hours of Tactics. I played dozens and dozens of playthroughs of FF Tactics back in the day. sunk huge years of my life into the game. So like, I love Final Fantasy. And if Final Fantasy 14 were a fun MMORPG with tight combat design, I would probably play the shit out of it. But yeah, but like, I don't find the combat's not super fun. The classes are all like really iconic. I love all the classes, but like the pushing of the buttons does not feel as good as WoW. And then the other problem I have with FF14 is that it's really not an MMO. It started as an MMO, like Realm Reborn 1.0 was an MMORPG. And then as the game grew and as the story got longer and longer and longer, it just became a JRPG graphic novel. Like, it's just like, it's a visual novel. You fly around the map doing the MSQ. Every once in a while you do a dungeon. So there's your tiny slice of gameplay. Your tiny slice of actual gameplay is every once in a while you do a pretty easy dungeon run as part of the main story. But other than that, you just fly from point to point and you talk to people and cutscenes play out and a story is told. But that's not really like what an MMORPG is. Yeah, the open world questing is bad. There is really no open world questing anymore. It's all about just doing the MSQ. You're just traveling. The open world questing in FF14 is travel from point A to point B and listen to the NPCs talk. Okay, now travel to point C and listen to and then you just do that over and over again. And there really is nothing else you have to engage with. There are probably other things to do. You know, the other things to do probably exist. Maybe they do, I don't know. But all you really have to do while you level up is you're just doing the MSQ. You're just watching a 300-hour graphic or visual novel play out in front of you, and that's really it. That's really all there is to it. It makes it really unapproachable to someone who hasn't been actively playing. Like, if you have not been actively playing FF14, it makes it like basically impossible to think about getting into it, because you're gonna have to play through this 350-hour story. And like, no offense, but like nobody's got time for that. It's one of the best, if not the best, JRPG story that has ever been crafted. But ain't nobody got time for that. That's a lot of time. Mr. Santa, have a good rest of your day, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. The fact you can do all the classes on one character, that's super cool. What an amazing feature. The ability to run every class on one character. Yeah, that's incredible. It's an incredible feature. Yep, they have what could be a great MMO, but it doesn't feel like an MMO anymore. And I think that's why like they're probably going to have trouble growing like new audience in the years to come. And like, I thought their upcoming expansion was supposed to be some kind of reset, some kind of like new story, so that people who have been outside of Final Fantasy for a long time had an entry point. But that doesn't look like it's what it is. It looks like it's just a continuation of the same characters in the same world, and that's it. Yeah, I thought they were gonna do some kind of like, not a reset or anything, but like just some kind of better jumping in point for people that didn't want to do the 300 hours MSQ. They could just get in on a new story and kind of feel like they understood what was going on and why. But that doesn't seem like it's what it is. Like, it seems like it's still the same cast of main characters, and like you're just gonna have another adventure with them, and you still need to have the last 350 hours of story to really know who those characters are, what their motivations are, like. So they didn't create a jumping in point, so I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe they don't need new players. Maybe they don't need new players. Maybe that's all that it is. Maybe you just keep catering to the same players and you can be successful that way. They're top 3 under WoW in the player base. Yeah, and even a game like WoW has trouble attracting new players. So imagine like a narrative-heavy game that focuses solely on JRPG story. Like that's gonna have trouble pulling in like more players in the future. Especially like the first thing that happens is you tell somebody like, oh, before you play any of the actual content in the game, you have to do a 300-hour story. Like right away, it's like, nah, I don't want to have to do a 300-hour story just to like do some raids. I'll pass. They can fix it by just giving new players like a better jumping in point. Just give them like make a new story. Like make a new story, bring in a new cast of characters in a different part of the world, and your player character can be the same level, like level 70, 80, 90, whatever they are now, and just like it could be kind of a clean slate story-wise, so that like new players can just ignore, they don't have to know about the last 350 hours of story, they can just jump into like the story right now. And then instead of playing for 350 hours before they get to do raids and stuff, they can play for like 40 hours of the new story, and then they can be doing raids and stuff. Like, there's a way to make sure that like your game stays accessible to new people, but you have to make jumping in points for them. Especially when you just have this big narrative experience that's like the cornerstone of your game is like doing this MSQ. Look, the problem is like even if you were to condense the Final Fantasy XIV story as much as you could into like just the important basics of the story and the important cutscenes, it would still be like 70, 80, 90, 100 hours. Like so much of the important story plays out in these really good conversations that characters have with each other. There are all these like moments of like dialogue, conversation, like the exposition that like craft the story and tell it. And even if you were to simply cut out everything else and only show a player that, it still would not, it would still take a long time to get through, and it wouldn't really do it justice. It's better just to say, hey, there was a story that happened on the other side of the planet. This is a different story with different main characters and different goings on. Different countries. There's another story. You could play it if you want to, but you don't have to. It's not relevant to the new story. It's better just to create a new story. Create a jumping in point for people, because they don't want, you don't want to feel like that far behind, because it just creates a point of friction where you're gonna say, you know what, I'll pass. It looks like somewhere in here I didn't get a named guy. I'll have to double back for that. I'm only sore about it because I thought that for myself, Dawn Trail was going to be that jumping in point. Back when they first talked about it, they made it sound like it was going to be a new story. So that's the only reason I have so much to say about it. I got to the end of Shadowbringers, so I didn't play any of the last expansion, but I beat Shadowbringers, and that's where I'm technically at in the Final Fantasy XIV story. To the end of Shadowbringers, and not to the end of like the epilogues and stuff, like just to the end of the base questing that came out on the 1.0 when the expansion came out. So for the epilogue stuff in Shadowbringers, and then for Endwalker, I probably have about 90 hours of MSQ to do. Just if I wanted to get a character like ready to go into Dawn Trail. And my memory is crap, so I don't remember, like, I don't really remember the story beats of Shadowbringers. I guess if I think hard enough about it, I probably could. And so yeah, I'm upset for myself, because I thought Dawn Trail was going to be that kind of like fresh start, different part of the world, different character cast. I thought we told their story with Endwalker. I thought like Endwalker, the end. Okay, good. We'll finish off with these people, and their stories will be done. We can go meet some new people somewhere else. Yeah, it's a single player game with multiplayer dungeons. And yeah, and as a fan of MMOs, I guess like ultimately that's not really what I want these days. Like 16-year-old me would have loved it, you know, back when I played a bunch of JRPGs, like 16-year-old me probably would have loved it. I would have had the 300 hours to spend with it. It would have been a great time. But like the me who prefers MMORPGs, like it's not, I guess maybe it's not really for me anymore anyway. Do I think Blizzard would ever do another MMO? No, you don't really do that kind of thing because you don't want to make a product that competes with yourself. You don't create like a successful intellectual property over like 25 years and then try to do anything that's going to compete with it. You don't ever want to compete with yourself. They even scrapped their survival game. They don't even make new IPs. They're not going to make a new MMO. Like they barely make games. They barely make games. What they make right now is they make WoW and they make Diablo. And they barely do that. So do I think they'll make another MMO? No, absolutely not. I don't think we're going to see a lot of new MMOs, period, ever. Like, I think that as a genre, it's kind of like, it's past the point where people are going to make new MMOs. It cost a metric ton of money. It cost a decade of development time, and then they often fail. So it's a huge risk. There's very little realistic potential profit return, and I don't think we'll see a lot of new MMOs. Like I said, Blizzard doesn't even want to make new games. They canceled their survival game, you know, like Overwatch 2 is like what it is, but it's not what it was supposed to be. Diablo 4 has been a terrible game up until this point that people have hated. Like, they barely make the games that they currently have to support. I would like them to stay away from making any new games anytime soon. That's what I would like. They let StarCraft die. Like, let's not even talk about how StarCraft is dead. Like, why is StarCraft dead? StarCraft was hugely popular, hugely successful, and it just didn't make them enough money. They couldn't sell enough shit on the cash shop for StarCraft to be successful, and so they canned it. And so in a world where StarCraft doesn't get to exist, like, I would rather they just not make any new games. I'll probably get a lot more things like Destiny. Overpriced expansions and season passes. Yeah, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with like a season pass model. Like, if you make a good game that people like, then it's good. The problem with a lot of games that are like live service and try to have a battle pass is like they make a shitty game and they still want people to pay for it. And so the game fails. If you make a really good game, that's just like a really good, honestly good game. You put your heart and soul into it. It's fun to play. The content you make for it is good. The updates are good. And then you want to have a battle pass and have it be a live service game. Like, you can absolutely do that if the game is good. It's weird because it's like developers think, oh, the only way we can make money off a game and make it worth making is if it has like if it's a live service model. And like, that might be true, but you first have to make a good game. You can't just say like, we are going to make a live service game, that's how we're going to make money. You have to make a great game first, and then it can be a live service game that people enjoy and will pay for like season after season. And a lot of developers seem to miss that part, the part about like actually making an honestly good video game. Yeah, that's the thing, don't like the company. You're not supposed to like Blizzard. Blizzard's a company. Don't like the company, like the games that are good. That's the way to look at it. Like, gone are the times when you can say like, oh, this developer, they only make good games. I love this developer. Like, don't like the developer, like the game. Be a fan, don't be a fan of Blizzard, be a fan of the Blizzard game that you like. If you're a Warcraft fan, be a fan of Warcraft. If you're a Diablo fan, be it, but don't try to be a fan of a company, because a company's just out to make money, and a company's going to make a lot of bad choices in the pursuit of making money. A company's going to make a lot of mistakes in the pursuit of making money, and ultimately you just can't like a company. Like they're just not a thing to be liked. Whereas a game is almost like a piece of art. A game pulls together a bunch of different things and creates this whole experience. So like, be a fan of the game, not a fan of the company, not a fan of the development studio. I feel like if you try to be a fan of a company or a fan of a development studio, you are always going to be disappointed. Just be a fan of the games that are actually good.
Here there. Be good. Good day to you. See you around.
Well met. Be careful.
You need something? See you later.
Started playing the Star Wars MMO recently. It's pretty fun. Yeah, it was fun. I played it when it first came out. Yep, I got my Imperial Agent. You know, got to the level cap at the time. We tried the first raid. We played it. What we did was we played a bunch of Hutball. That was what we really did. We really played a bunch of Hutball. I had a great time with Hutball, surprisingly. But yeah, my guild went there for a bit. We tried the first raid tier, and like, you know, we did the raid. And then we went back to WoW. We went back to WoW just because, you know, WoW was an established game. There was more content to do. Like, but yeah, Star Wars: The Old Republic was pretty good.
What's up? Glad I could help.
It was a good example of a game that had a good story, but it also felt like an MMORPG. Every class had a main quest line. You got a unique quest line for each class. You had companion characters that were amazing and well written. You could develop like your relationships with them, I'm pretty sure, and bring them out on missions with you. Like Star Wars: The Old Republic did a lot of things right.
Have a good one.
You know, it's just I feel like people just stopped playing it after a while because there wasn't as much to do as there was in WoW. So a lot of guilds, like my guild, like we tried out Star Wars, we played it, we got to max level, then we went back to WoW.
How are ya?
It's unfortunate, but that's just like kind of what happens. That's why I say things like I don't think we'll see a lot more like MMORPGs, because a lot of them fail for reasons like that. They just don't maintain the player base for long enough. They don't make enough money in the short term, and they don't hold on to players long enough to make enough money in the long term, and then eventually they fail.
Safe travels.
King's honor, friend. For the Alliance.
Great to meet you.
Well met. Farewell.
I feel like there have been a lot of MMORPGs that have started with like a pretty decent game, but because they didn't have the time to breathe or the time to grow, like they ended up failing. Like games that could have potentially ended up being really good. I think about WildStar. WildStar was really cool. WildStar was fun. I had a lot of fun on my medic. It was such a unique class. I had more fun on my warrior because it was a warrior, and it looked like I was wearing Iron Man armor, and that was really cool. And then WildStar failed. You know, it just, I don't know that it didn't have the content, it didn't have the player base, it didn't topple WoW, it didn't come out of the gate and topple World of Warcraft. So like back then, people thought that meant a game had failed if it didn't immediately topple WoW. Warhammer Online, another game that I thought was a lot of fun with unique classes that were well done, that was fun to play. Another MMO that came out, and because it didn't topple WoW, it was a failure and like didn't really stick around. And so yeah, I feel like throughout history, lots of MMORPGs have come out that like have been deemed failures back then because the only metric of success back then, like 10, 15 years ago, was that you had to topple World of Warcraft. And they didn't realize that this was impossible, that it was never gonna happen, but that you could have a good game with a solid player base anyway. I think if a lot of those games came out today, they would have stuck around longer. I think they would have established their player bases, and I think that as long as the playerships were within certain thresholds, the games would have been deemed successful. But back then, because they didn't topple WoW, they were deemed failures. Whereas now, everyone in the industry understands you're not going to topple these big games. You're not going to topple Call of Duty. You're not going to topple Fortnite. You're not going to topple World of Warcraft. What you can hope for is that you create a game good enough with enough soul that you carve out a tiny slice of the pie for yourself. And that over time, if you continue to have a great game that people love, that your little slice of pie can get bigger and bigger over time. I think that's a lot more accepted now, but we've burned through so many MMOs, it's too late for the genre. We've already burned through MMOs that were actually good. Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars The Old Republic, WildStar, Warhammer Online. All these games, like when you think about them, like in their 1.0 versions, like they had a lot of promise. If they'd have had 2, 3, 5 years to grow, the way like, you know, ESO got time to grow, the way Final Fantasy got time to grow, like if they'd have had more time to grow, could have had a lot of good MMOs to choose from. Might not be a dead genre today. But the metric for success was unrealistic back then. Yeah, be careful. I would say if you are someone who's really looking forward to Ashes of Creation, do not get your hopes up. Ashes of Creation has been in development for 8 years. Ashes of Creation, I'm pretty sure, has changed entire game engines 2 different times, where they've completely changed the engine their game is being built in. Ashes of Creation is a game that every time they talk about Ashes of Creation, they're talking about these features, here's a feature, here's a feature, this is a feature, and it kind of seems like a game that has an ever-increasing number of features, but it also seems to be a game that's not really moving past alpha testing. Yeah, I would be very careful. I would say it's very doubtful that we ever see Ashes of Creation released to the public. When games are in development for 8 years, 10 years, and we're still in the alpha phase, that to me is a game that is stuck in development hell. That is a game where it seems, this is my read on it, this is like a very like base level read, it seems like almost in that situation as a developer, your impulse is to keep developing the game, because as long as you're developing the game, the game isn't out yet. And as long as the game isn't out yet,
Have a good one.
the game hasn't failed yet. And so it feels like in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is kind of in the same exact position, where it feels like these developers, like they just want to keep working on the game and working on the game and taking money for the game and working on the game, because as long as the game is in development and the game isn't out to the public yet, the game hasn't failed yet. And it just seems like they're kind of terrified to ever let the game out into the wild. And I don't think that Ashes of Creation is ever going to come out to 1.0 release. And I think that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen will hit 1.0 release eventually. But Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is now basically an EverQuest clone. It's now it's basically EverQuest, because now it's trying to appeal to a very niche audience, and that's not a bad thing. If it can capture that like old school EverQuest crowd and people who like that, then it could do well. So I think we'll eventually see Pantheon. I don't think we're gonna see Ashes of Creation ever hit 1.0. That's just how I feel about it. A game that's been in development for 8 years, but is still in like deep alpha. A game that's continuously touting like new features, changing their game engine. Like, I don't think we ever see that game hit public release. I would be shocked if we ever saw beta. Like, I think we'll just see more alphas that go on and on. I think one day the studio will just declare bankruptcy, or that they just can't continue developing the game. Because keep in mind, you are employing developers. And eventually, as a developer working on a team, even if like you really care a lot about the project you're working on, after working on a game for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years, and having that game never come out, as a video game developer, as a human being working on a piece of art, you are going to not want to keep wasting your time. Eventually, as a developer, you are going to want to go work on a game that is going to get released someday. And so what's going to happen is, over time, if they haven't already, they're going to start bleeding their talent. Okay, now you got to hire people to work on this game that's been in development for 10 years, that hasn't come out yet. And now you're hiring new developers who are not as familiar with the systems, who don't care as much about the game. Like, once you're in development for that long, I think it's hard to get a game out. Yeah, it's just hard to get a game out. Whereas now that they've kind of rescoped Pantheon, like Pantheon's been rescoped into an EverQuest clone. So like Pantheon has a chance of coming out. Because now they know what their goal is. Now they know what their scope is. And with Ashes, like, it doesn't feel like they have a defined scope. It doesn't feel like they have a defined goal. It doesn't feel like they have, like, concretely what they want their game to be about or to even look like. And I don't think that kind of game at this point ever gets released. I hope I'm wrong. It's one of those things. I would love to be wrong because there need to be more MMOs to choose from, but in this case I don't think I'm going to be wrong. Would I play Pantheon? I would try Pantheon out. Yeah. Like, I am not an EverQuest person. I missed the boat on EverQuest. I didn't have a PC as a kid when EverQuest was out, or as a teenager. Like, I didn't have the ability to really play it. Missed the boat on it entirely. I tried to start up a EverQuest character on one of their progression servers like a year or two ago, and I could not even figure out how to get my character to do an ability or to attack an enemy. So, you know, instead of looking up how to play, I just kind of gave up on it. But yeah, but Pantheon, I would play Pantheon. Yeah, I'll check it out. It's the kind of game where you make a character and then you go off into the wilderness and you start hitting rats. And then you keep hitting rats. And then 10 hours later, you're still hitting rats. And every once in a while, a rat kills you. And so yeah, it seems like my jam. I would try it out. And if you're lucky, you eventually get to kill big spiders, yeah. If you're lucky. But for a while, you're just getting killed by rats, like tiny little rats. I watched a little bit of Co-Carnage play the most recent alpha build of it. So yeah, I've seen a little bit of their most recent work on Pantheon. And yeah, it looks very much like an EverQuest game. The graphics are like they look like EverQuest. They look like EverQuest, like a higher resolution EverQuest. I can't tell if they're going for like a specific art style or if it's just like the art style is simply low res and like low res is the art style. But it looks okay. And the gameplay looks like exactly what you would expect if you were an EverQuest player. And since I'm never going to be able to get into EverQuest, I would love to be able to get into Pantheon. Yep. Well, they release games non-stop now because it's like nowadays game development is let's throw a bunch of shit at the wall and let's see what sticks. That's how like corporate people think about game development. Let's make a bunch of live service games, let's throw them at the wall, and we'll see what sticks to the wall. And if anything sticks to the wall, we'll focus on that for a couple of years before we toss it in the bin and come up with something else. Yeah. That's just like naturally what happens when game development becomes as much about business as it is about making a great game. It's like years and years ago, the first focus was let's make an amazing video game. And then there was the business side. Like, okay, we have this amazing video game. How do we make money off of it? Marketing, go, go, go. And so that was how we did it. But now it's like, okay, we need to make money first and foremost. What kinds of games are going to make us money? And so like the linear thought process of how to make games has changed. And that's why we get more games, but most of them are worse. because now it's a numbers game. Like, if we make 10 games a year, one of these games has to pop off. Like, that's kind of how it's like being handled. If we make 10 games a year, one game will stick to the wall, one game will pop off, one game will be good, and we can focus on that game for a few years, we can milk the crap out of it, and then maybe by then we'll have our next success on our hands, hopefully. And it probably won't always continue that way. Eventually that very practice of like burning through games will become super unprofitable. And the money that they recoup from finding a hit won't really cover the cost of all the games that have been abandoned. But that's kind of how it is for now. We have an unspent talent point. But we are in combat. Yep, I mean the best games are always going to happen when the people in charge of the game understand that the game has to be good first. The game has to be good first, the game has to have soul, the game has to be amazing, and then they can make money off of it. Like, those are always going to be the best games. And like these days, there's always going to be like garbage games that do not prioritize like game development the right way. But yeah, eventually they'll see that the successful games are the ones that are games first, that are good first. And then those games make money because they're good. They don't make money because they try to copy Fortnite. They don't make money because they have a battle pass. Like, they make money on those things because they are simply well-made games that people enjoy. You know, eventually that'll be clear enough. And there will probably come a day when we have less garbage games. And like more of what gets released to the public is like actually like quality games that at least the developer like had their soul in. Could happen eventually. Lael, enjoy, man. Have a good rest of your day. And thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time. Shadow, good evening, buddy. Welcome to the stream. Alright, talent points. Your Mind Blast critical strikes reduce the target's movement speed? I don't know. I don't know about that. I feel like I need to get down here into this. Yeah, I feel like getting into this would be good. What do I have to do that? I have to go here. Dark Evangelism. Your Mind Flay, Mind Spike, and Void Torrent damage increase the damage of your periodic shadow effects. That sounds like a good passive. Vampiric Touch, dealing additional damage is really good. Increase your Devouring Plague. Let's come back up here. I think I need to grab one of these. Do I want Void Eruption? Release an explosive blast of pure void energy, activating void form, causing shadow damage to all enemies. During void form, this ability is replaced by Void Bolt. Casting Devouring Plague increases the duration of void form. Yeah, I need to start playing with that because I feel like that's going to be important to my class. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be an important mechanic to kind of understand like how it works, when I'm supposed to use it, all that good stuff. See, look, now I'm at a point where I kind of need a third action bar. Let me see. There we go. The priest has been a blast. I've been having a really good time. Let's see. We have no target. Okay, I want to try this out and see exactly what it does, so I know what to expect. Okay, and then this becomes Void Bolt, which is on a little bit of a cooldown. This form lasts for like, it was like 15 seconds, but then if we were to do Devouring Plague, that would extend the duration of Void form. So I guess I really want to pop this when I have like maximum insanity, so that I can Devouring Plague and keep it going. That's my take. I think it's going to take like a longer fight for me to really figure out how that works into like the overall rotation. I'm probably not going to really figure that out until I'm doing dungeons. But that's what it seems like I would do. It seems like I would want to do it when I had like a high amount of insanity built up. I can do Dark Ascension if I don't want the extra Void Bolt button. Yeah, that was my other choice. Increases your non-periodic shadow damage by 25% for 20... Yeah, so this is just like a DPS cooldown. So instead of having to go into Void form and having to worry about the Void Spike, having to worry about getting Devouring Plagues out and having high insanity, this is like a simpler, just like a DPS cooldown, basically. Yeah, I wonder, like, what's more viable, right? I mean, realistically, I guess they both could be viable. It depends on the player. But I wonder if there's a common choice in Mythic Plus, if more people take Void Eruption or if more people take Dark Ascension. Like, I am kind of more prone to do something like a Dark Ascension type of ability, but we'll see. It's nice to have options. I mean, we look cool in void form. We get some more tentacles, and that's always good. But yeah, maybe for Mythic, maybe I would try the other one. It'd be a little bit less that I have to think about. And since I'm not very smart, less to think about is probably a good thing. Save a button for Void Torrent. I have like one more button left. Ideally, I don't get too many more abilities. Because yeah, I can move a couple things around, but ultimately, like, the amount of abilities that I can use is limited. It's limited to about about 14. Now let's see. Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I can do some ability. I got one more spot basically. One more spot. After that, it's going to be hard to have a spot for everything. Like, I need things like Mass Dispel is probably something I need to have out. I don't know if I need Dispel Magic if I have Mass Dispel. I guess if it's one person, I need to be able to do that. Psychic Scream, I guess I'll have to do sometimes. My Shadow Fiend on cooldown. This could come off. That doesn't belong there. I have two buttons. Yeah. I have two buttons. And that's it. A Desperate Prayer, I don't know if like I really need that bound anywhere, so there's a button. That's like the 7, 8, and 9. I'm hitting those on my mouse. But these ones are a little bit harder to hit. They're on my third row of mouse buttons, so they're a little bit harder to hit. Yeah. I've got a few, but we're running out of space. Spec towards power infusion. Where is that at? I could search it. That's right. Oh, okay. That's back in my my priest tree. I did grab Angelic Feather. We can come down and grab Shackle and yeah, we can grab it. It's another cooldown, 2-minute cooldown. Okay, cooldowns can go up top, so that's not bad. Actually, I'd probably put it over here somewhere. I will head towards that. How many active players does retail have compared to classic? Okay, the thing to keep in mind, this is really, really important. And this is like a big misrepresentation by the classic community, and it's a big misunderstanding with classic players. There are many, 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 many more people who actively play retail than who play classic. And it's this weird like thought process that happens like partially because of like the isolationism of some classic players, that there's like a thought amongst the classic community, especially like classic diehards, that somehow classic has like more players or the same amount of players or is like an even split or is pretty close, and it's not true. There are many, many, many more players that play retail WoW than play classic. If we're talking about like active players, engaging in stuff, engaging in the game, doing end game stuff, if I had to guess, it'd be like 5 to 1. But that's a guess. But the important thing is just the concept that there are many, many more people who play modern WoW than who play classic WoW. And a lot of it is that there's more to do in modern WoW, and there are more ways to play modern WoW. There's more like different kinds of activities to do. I think this mentality really started to grow in classic players when hardcore was popping off. When hardcore was really, really popular, when everybody was streaming hardcore, when hardcore death reels were all the rage. It was easy to just like come up with this idea that like, oh, like more people play classic right now than play modern, which it was never true. Yeah, it's still not true. Shadow, you'd play classic Cata if your retail mounts and transmog transferred. I would love to see a day where the stuff that I collect in classic era combines with my retail account. Eventually, I want the stuff that I collect in classic, like my transmog and my mounts. I just want it to merge with my modern collection. Like, I don't know when that happens. I don't know if it happens when the classic experiment is over. Like, we get to classic Legion and they throw in the towel. And at that point, I want all the stuff that I collected in classic to go to my modern account, because I don't want it all to be lost. That's one of the roughest things about playing classic a lot, is that like you're collecting stuff and you're doing stuff and you're progressing a character, but ultimately, like, where does that character go? What's the end point of the character? In modern WoW, my character is always going to get to go into the next raid. They're always going to get to go into the next expansion. They're always going to get to go into the next dungeon. They're always going to be there. There's always going to be new content for them to do. But what happens to my classic character? What happens to all the stuff they collect? And I hope that the answer is that one day I'll be riding around on my awesome stone core mount in modern WoW. Because that was like a cool mount that I got just recently in Cataclysm that I don't have that mount in retail. And it's a really cool mount. And it was a really low drop rate and I won the role and I would love to be able to fly it in retail because it looks really cool. So I'm hoping one day that there will be like some sort of merger. Otherwise, I think that would feel really bad. To just eventually have this classic character that you played for like, it'll be like 10 years. You'll have a 10-year-old classic character and then they go nowhere. And they just languish on a dead server in a dead version of the game where nobody plays anymore. Like, that would be really, really sad. And I hope somewhere somebody at Blizz is kind of like thinking about that a little bit. Yeah, it feels bad to build up a cool mount collection in one version, not having it. Now, I don't know. The stuff in retail can never go back into Classic. You know, I can't log into Classic and have access to all my retail stuff because some of it doesn't exist. But I do feel like some kind of like merging where like the stuff I get in Classic should apply to my retail collection. Like it should be forward transferable. Anything I collect in Classic should be added to my retail collection as well. And it should just happen automatically. Like as soon as I got that Stone Core Drake, I should be able to log into retail and I should be able to mount up on the stone on the Drake. That would be the ideal situation for me. It would also make playing Classic more meaningful because then I would know that the things in Classic that I do, that I collect, that I find, can be accessed in a version of the game that's going to actually continue into the future and not just be like a big question mark. To be fair, we didn't go too far with Classic. Blizzard decides how far to go with Classic, so we didn't do it. We didn't do anything. We just play the games. Blizzard decides what games they release and how they release them, how they're implemented, the changes that get made, all that stuff. There are plenty of people who would have loved to see Classic end at Vanilla. There are plenty of people who would have loved to see Classic Plus happen in Vanilla. There were plenty of people that were fine with Classic going to Wrath, and then there were lots of people that would have loved to never have Cataclysm Classic. But it's like, so ultimately, we don't decide these things. Blizzard does. So like, maybe Blizzard has gone too far. We didn't do it. How far will they go? I don't know. They're gonna at least do Mist of Pandaria. We're gonna at least have Mist of Pandaria Classic, and then we'll have to see what happens after that. Look, what happens for me, this is what happens for me, is the further they go into Classic, the farther they get into the releases of re-releasing Classic, the more retail I play. So for them, it's a win-win. You know, they've got me playing a little bit of Classic, but now they've got me playing more and more retail. And that's been the story of Classic for me, is like the further Classic has moved away from Vanilla, the more retail I have played. And there will probably come a time when retail is the only version that I play, outside of like whenever hardcore's popping off or stuff like that. But that's not a bad plan. From Blizzard's perspective, that's good. They're offering me Classic. As Classic progresses, I choose to engage less and less with it, but I choose to engage more and more with retail. And so from their perspective, that's awesome. That's a win-win. How am I liking the Shadow Priest? I'm really digging it. It's been a lot of fun. Every new ability, every new talent adds more depth to the class, and I'm having a really good time. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to do heroics and mythics on it. And I am looking forward to getting it capped and getting it geared. It's going to be good. Let's turn these ones in.
Time is money, friend. Be good. Keep it real.
Time is money, friend. Keep it real. Glad I could help.
All right, guys, I am out of time for today. I've had a really great time hanging out and leveling this character. It has been an absolute blast. I really appreciate you guys being here and all the support today. Tomorrow, with any luck tomorrow, we will be in the War Within beta. And we will be checking out some War Within, with any luck. Tomorrow the beta is supposed to open up. As a person who splurged on the $90 version of the game, I am supposedly going to have immediate, this is Blizzard's words, immediate access to beta. So we will see. I have my fingers crossed. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see you guys then. And until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll be back in Azeroth sometime very soon. Bye for now.